more on the political turmoil in Bolivia. I'm joined now by Michael Shifter, president of the Inter-American Dialogue. Michael, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
So is this democracy restored in Bolivia or a coup?
Well, I think we saw both things. We saw that in Evo Morales attempting to steal an election. So that's fraud, very anti-democratic. And then we saw the military play a role in ousting Morales, which is also anti-democratic. So I think both of them we've seen. We don't know what's coming next. This has yet to play out. Situation is extremely chaotic and extremely tense in Bolivia. But I think Morales really provoked this because it was clear that he was trying to stay in power, and he thought he could weather the storm. He thought the protests would dissipate, and that didn't happen. People got angry.
And how is it that Evo Morales actually lost the support of the military? How significant was that?
Well, I think the military just felt that they couldn't control the streets, and they weren't prepared to shoot at Bolivians. There were just so many of them, and they were committing violence, and the military just didn't want to be in that position. So it looked like the situation was just untenable, and the country was ungovernable, and they said that it would be best for him to resign, and then he resigned.
And how can Bolivians have any confidence that the new elections won't be rigged?
Oh, I don't. Well, I don't. You know, it remains to be seen who's going to preside over those new elections. I think the one thing that we saw in this election was that the Organization of American States did play a role. They're the one that audited the first election and basically charged Morales with committing fraud. And then there was supposed to be another election, so the international community, I think, has a role to play, like the Organization of American States. But it really happened. The situation is very fluid in Bolivia up until now, and so you really have to establish some authority, maintain order, and hopefully both sides of this bitterly divided, polarized country will come together and figure out an approach and a formula to have elections in the next couple of months.
Well, like you say, it's very unclear what happens and who leads, but President Trump is leaping in, saying the resignation of Morales sends a message to Venezuela and Nicaragua. Would you agree?
Well, I think I think that kind of message will be interpreted by many on the left and many U.S. critics as almost an admission that the U.S. was part of this coup, which a lot of people have made that accusation. In other words, this is kind of ammunition for him to come out and say that. I think the situations in Nicaragua and in Venezuela, especially, are extremely difficult, very different than Bolivia, and I don't think we're seeing this wave. I think this is a very particular situation. I think the military are much more entrenched in Venezuela. They're involved in a lot of businesses. They're involved in drug traffic and other criminal activities. It's a very different military and a very different situation than we see in Bolivia.
Michael Shifter, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Well, first it was Flint, Michigan, and now in Newark, New Jersey, Americans